3 months ago, I was a relationship coach for 8 years, multi six-figure business, built a name for myself, built the entire thing. God very clearly, after many months of wrestling with this, God was like, it's time to let it go. That day, I was like, all right, bet God's calling the shots. So I'm cutting it. And I cut it. I did a whole like closing sale, didn't know what's next. Like that level of confidence. And my friends are like, dude, like, whoa, like, how did you have that level of faith and like all the my relationship with God? And I'm getting my confidence from that, not who Kevin is and what Kevin can do.
Welcome back to the Power and Purpose podcast. I am Vanessa Soul, your host. Thank you so much for investing your time and your energy into tuning in to today's episode. I really do appreciate it. I'm super excited for today's guest. We have Kevin Crenshaw, known as the Heart Guy. Kevin empowers others in their purpose through confidence, courage, and hearing from God. Kevin, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Yes, absolutely. I have a signature question that I typically ask people, but for you, I have a question before I get to my signature question. And everyone knows my signature question is, who are you and who are you not? I love asking it. It's such a great way to play around with our identity. I'm curious, I'm just reading your bio. Do you know your astrology? Are you a Leo, sun, moon, or rising?
From what I know, I'm a Pisces double Virgo, but in Vedic astrology, I'm like fire all over. So
Okay.
take that for what it is. But yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah. And just to explain my thoughts, it's like, the heart guy, confidence, courage, those are all like Leo qualities. So, so interesting. Yeah, in Vedic astrology, it says you have a lot of fire, so that's pretty cool. All right, so yes, I gotta know, who are you and who are you not? How would you describe that for today?
Well, I'm everything and nothing at the same time. Is kind of where I have landed on in my own mind of my identity. So I used to place my identity on like my title, things that I did. I was relationship coach for 8 years, or I had, this relationship or this car or this money in the bank or this business. I was placing it on the roles that I played and the temporary stuff in my life. And then I had a near death experience that really rocked me. And I was like, well, actually, who am I beyond these titles? Um, and really, I got to the point where, whatever we say our identity is going to be true. Um, and I had to get to the point where it was kind of rough for my ego to be in, because your ego wants to define itself. But I'm everything and nothing at the same time. It gives me freedom to be whatever the fuck I want to be in the present moment.
Oh my God, unapologetically yourself, even when we're undefiable.
Yes, it's tough to grasp it in your mind, but really it's permission. I'm whoever I want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for that. And what really struck me about you was just how much you've been through, the near death experiences, homelessness, addiction, Lyme disease, and repeated financial rock bottoms. And I love to touch on what we've been through, because it can say so much about our present moment, like the wisdom that we've gained. Um, and so what can you share? Like, how was that one? Because anyone listening to this, when I listed off everything, that sounds like, from the ego's perspective, a nightmare, right? And so tell us, what was it like? How did you get through it? When was the turning point?
I got a book coming out called Perspectives. It's contemplative poetry. I'm sure we'll talk about it in a second. But one of the lines in there is, am I resilient or just delusional? I don't know. Either way, I keep getting back up. And that's what came to mind when you asked that question. Like, I can look at all the stuff that's happened in my life and I'm like, I'm either psycho or really resilient or both. I don't know. You know, During my near death experience, I actually willingly chose back to come back to earth and like willingly chose life again. I remember that moment. And so I was like, nah, like there's more to do. There's more people to serve. There's more ways I can support. There's more that my soul is called to serve. Um, and so I think that that's been a driving force too, knowing that it's not been about me. My life is not about me. and depersonalizing all those experiences to me and the victim stuff, which I've fallen into in the past for sure. But recognizing and seeing that it is God's hand forging me to be the man that I need to be in order to carry out the mission that he has called me to carry out, and that I have also agreed to and said yes to, because both of those things need to happen. And so when I started seeing it all as training, that's one perspective to have. But then you can see another perspective that I was also keeping myself there in the like, especially the repeated financial patterns and stuff. Like that's not God's will for us. So God wasn't showing me a lesson as much as I was just unwilling to play in a new reality. Let's put it that way. So I had a lot of unlearning to do, and ways that I was getting in the way of God's will. But that's a super deep, question about God's will and predestination, and that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But I think multiple truths can be true at the same time. Anyway, yeah, I'm a little delusional, kind of psycho, and I just keep getting back up because I know I'm here to serve, and my life is not about me.
What was one it sounds like you've had several near-death experiences, but what was the one, like, what happened? What was the one that, looking back or maybe in the present moment, is or was the most transformational one or the turning point?
5 years ago, I had an accidental overdose on plant medicine. Um, I was high for 3 days and psychotic for a month afterwards, and really,
Well, can we know which one? Are you okay
yeah,
disclosing that?
yeah, Wachuma.
Okay.
So didn't know that it expands in liquid, and I had a powdered version instead of cooked by a shaman. And it hit me like a weed brownie, right? I was like, I don't feel anything, so let me take more. And this person serving me was out of integrity and didn't know the dosage either. And so it started expanding in my stomach and cleaned out my gut microbiome, damaged my gut and in many different areas. And I actually understood the link between gut health and mental health. After that, following that, I lost about 45 pounds of muscle afterwards. I was a bodybuilder and everything. So I went down. Yeah, there was just a lot of torture and torment, and spiritual warfare on the back end of that for 4 years. Gut problems. I mean, I could go on and on. Tried so many healings and plant medicines and therapies and healing modalities to try to heal it. Nothing ever worked. But I can look back on that experience and go, I came out of that and almost like hardened my heart. I was grateful, but also like I'm just got up and kept running again. It wasn't until I had Lyme disease earlier this year, I got diagnosed with Lyme disease, that I actually slowed down, which is interesting to me because my extremism brought me to the overdose. I was pounding caffeine all the time. I was overworking like a maniac. My business was taking off, but I didn't really have a life. My business had me. And then I had that overdose. And then about 3, 4 months later, I started the hustle again. And I kind of went atheistic. If I can't see it, it's not real. Didn't believe in higher power, didn't believe in the spiritual stuff. I was all the mindset work, all that. I was just like, I need to heal my body. Right. So I fell into that framing for a little bit. And then, um, yeah, it took a lot to come around to different perspectives because I was so headstrong. But that's something that really shocks me when I look back at that. I'm like, wow, I didn't really learn much in the immediate, like, which is interesting because I actually like saw my soul leaving my body and chose to come back. um,
Mhm.
in detail. But anyway,
Yeah, yeah, it sounds like it had to gradually unfold, like the seed was planted and it had to unfold at its own time. How did it feel discovering the Lyme disease? Like, walk us through that. Was it shock? Was it numbness? Were you acceptance of it, like in full acceptance of it right away? What is that like?
well, my memory started fading, and my memory recall, and I was like skipping words in the middle of sentences, and it was really hard to be present, and my mind was glitching, and I'm like, okay, what's happening? Um, because I was also like in that time really deepening my relationship with God, and like so much healing was happening in my life. But then there was this thing with my mind that was interesting. And so when I got the confirmation that it was Lyme disease, I was kind of like, oh, that makes sense. And then thankfully I was in the right hands with the right support to be able to get the right direction out of it, because I think a lot of people find out they have Lyme and they struggle with it for years. Thankfully, I was surrounded by the right people that specialize in healing it and have actually have so many case studies of people doing that. So I was like, cool, let's do it. But it was humbling because I had to slow down. So for me,
Okay.
that was the big thing. I actually had to stop working out all the time. I had to like spend not work all the time. I was working 2 hours a day max, and I was resting a lot, and I was just taking supplements, and I was just regulate my body. Like everything else was full stop. That was the number one focus in my life for 6 months until I healed it. And um, taught me a lot about myself and a lot of what was driving that compulsion to overwork and overperform before. Um, so yeah, when I found out I had Lyme, it wasn't shocking because I had symptoms, and I was like, okay, cool. Now let's just go. Let's attack it.
Okay. Yeah. So you knew something was out of alignment, and that gave you the answer. It answered the question that you probably didn't know you had.
Yeah.
Two questions for you. You can answer these in any order. One, what is your understanding of Lyme disease from your, because you're living it, right? I think a lot of us hear about it as like an autoimmune condition, but I think that there's some ambiguity around it as well.
From what I understand, it's a bacteria in your body, and your immune system attacks itself. Um, and so it just continuously grows weaker, and it can affect your nerves and your memory and some other things. So, from my understanding, I didn't really focus on that too much. I was like, cool, I have Lyme disease. This is how I heal it. I focused on the healing. Like, I didn't go deep down the rabbit hole of how did I get this and what does this mean? And oh, I have to live like this now. Like, I didn't even focus on
Yeah.
those things. So,
And what is the what is your specific personal choice in your healing journey for Lyme disease? We're not recommending this for anyone. This is Kevin's journey. What does that include?
what I did, and this made total sense, I actually started doing a very intense parasite cleanse first. So you attack parasites because most people attack the Lyme disease and they clear the bacteria, but then the parasites die and it re-releases it into your body. And so that's why it's like, I'm doing this. I feel better, but then I feel worse. It's parasitic. So I addressed the parasites first, and then I addressed the Lyme disease after that. So that was my protocol. It was a lot of supplements. I was taking so many supplements. Oh my God. I'm so glad I'm not taking that many supplements now. But yeah, that and a lot of making sure my detox pathways were open, colonic,
Yeah. So
other
I'm
stuff.
kind of curious. You mentioned that we're in 2025 at the time of this recording. You mentioned that you found out about the Lyme earlier this year. Is that correct? And like, where are you now today on that journey? Do you still have the symptoms? Or, and I
Totally
don't
clear.
have the terminology. I don't know if it's curable, or maybe I did know and I don't know that I know. Like, where are you now, right now, today with that?
It's gone. I think the thing that I have to watch for is my nervous system can't get too hot, meaning
Yeah.
like I can't push myself like I used to. But that's changing fast. The past month,
Okay.
it's really my window of tolerance has expanded, and my nervous system.
Okay. How do you know it's gone? And I don't know what kind of information is out there. I'm assuming I've heard that it's incurable. Is that out there? Is that like the regular thing? And you're just not paying, like, you just know that you're your own creator and you're like, I just took things into my own hands. I'm not subscribing to what mainstream thoughts are around Lyme disease. I didn't really care what they said. So like, give us that info. What's your insight on
I don't
that?
I don't think anything's uncurable. Number
Okay,
one, it's
thank
not my
you.
reality that I live in. So if
Beautiful.
that's what other people say, cool, you can believe that if you want. I don't live in that reality. So um I don't have the symptoms. My energy is great. I feel great. I'm better than I have in years. Like I've been
And did
set.
you get retested or something?
Yes. So the same way that we got found out was applied kinesthesiology. So it's this form of muscle testing.
Yeah.
And ran it again, and then it's completely gone. So
Wow.
um
This is so huge. I love you're so chill. You're so chill. I mean, you're my type of person. I'm so not chill. So I do well with people like you, but you're just I love it. You're humbled, right? Like
I-
I've had a lot. I mean, I haven't had near death experiences like you've had. I've had a lot of things to humble me, so much so that I stay humble too. But I mean, I just want the audience to really like receive this, especially if you're one of those people where you get caught up in the mainstream thought that something isn't curable, right? Like I have a friend dealing with herpes. And it's just like, and I love what Kevin said, like, you believe, our beliefs shape our reality. Like, whatever you believe becomes true. So if you can truly believe that anything is curable, it will be curable. And then follow it up with action steps. Obviously, you heard Kevin's story, you're hearing it right now. Like, he did the right things at the right time. He had support. It wasn't just like, oh, I believe I don't have this thing anymore.
Yeah.
It was backed up by like real action, dedication, not working past 2 hours. Like, you had a full implementation strategy, it sounds like, even if it was intuitive. Us hearing about it, it sounds like it just worked. And it was exactly what you needed. So because you're so chill and cool and calm, I just had to emphasize to everyone, like, this is real stuff. Like, you can do this too. This is why I talk about this stuff on my podcast. So anyway, back to you if you want to say anything about that, and then I want to start shifting into how did those experiences start to really give you clarity or momentum, or anything, that has, like, who you are today, like, that has really helped you in your journey going forward.
For a while, I really fell victim to the near death. I fell victim to my circumstances. I felt frustrated to them. It narrowed my focus, and my focus for the longest time in my recent experience of life was focused on me. I was trying to get free of my stuff. I was working on my self-esteem. I was working on my shame. I was working on healing this thing. I was working on getting out of this financial thing that it was still all about me. And I had to look up very recently this year and be like, whoa, like, how did I get here? Because 6, 7 years ago, my life was very much about service and other people. And my mind just kind of, through focusing on the pain or focusing on my own circumstances or things that or scarcity creeping in, whatever it was, I needed to do to get me better. But that actually was like quicksand. And so I think for me, the biggest lesson in a lot of this was, I don't care what's going on, what quote unquote uncurable disease you have, what's going on in your finances, like, deepen your relationship to God and serve. That's actually how you get out of your situation. But it's almost like when you get out of your situation and you won't even give a fuck because it's not the focus.
Yes. Yeah.
So like the over personalization of things is why it's oversensitive.
Right. Right. I had to be your hype man on that one. Yeah. And when did you start to know that you have the ability to hear from God? And what does that mean?
Yeah. So I mean, everybody's different, and I don't hear audibly the voice of God all the time. It's happened a few times in my life, but it sounds like me. Like it's you know how do I say this? So for me, hearing God's voice, the more I'm intimate with God, the more I know God's voice, and the more I know who's God's voice, what's my fear, what's my intuition, what's a narrative that I'm just playing out. So it's important to deepen in a relationship with God, and that happens how you deepen any relationship. You talk to the person, you're vulnerable with them, you do things together, and so I realized in a lot of this experience that I was edging God out of the equation because it was like living in this whole, if it's meant to be, it's up to me mentality, and my courage, my confidence was self-generated, and so and it reached a point where it just broke because that's not the way to do it. So I had a lot of false and faux confidence, you know. Um, and so for me, placing my confidence now is because I'm obeying God, because I know who God is, and I know my relationship with God. And when God tells me to go in a certain direction, it could make absolutely no sense. And I'll say, all right, bet, let's do it. And like that happened recently, 3 months ago. I was a relationship coach for 8 years, multi six-figure business, built a name for myself, built the entire thing. God very clearly, after many months of wrestling with this, God was like, it's time to let it go. That day, I was like, all right, bet, God's calling the shots. So I'm cutting it. And I cut it. I did a whole like closing sale, didn't know what's next. Like that. that level of confidence, and my friends are like, dude, like, whoa, like, how did you have that level of faith and like all the my relationship with God? And I'm getting my confidence from that, not who Kevin is and what Kevin can do, because everybody has a different way of hearing God. It could be a clairaudience. Some people it's a felt sensed experience, like you get a certain nudge in a direction. I know some people are like, dude, I've never heard God. I just start running and then God directs me as I go. And I'm like, yeah, I've lived
Yeah.
in that reality too. So it's different. And I think we need to slow down enough to hear God. Mainly, the biggest
Yeah.
thing, we're we're not in reverence to God, and for the most part, and we're not taking time in prayer to listen to God and have discernment, um, and asking God to hear Him clearly.
Yeah. I want to get your thoughts on this. I saw something a long time ago on Instagram and I had screenshotted it and I don't even know who said it. Sorry, I can't give you credit. And I had put it on my phone and it said, when our nervous system is dysregulated, that's when we're the most disconnected from God. And I was like, man, that's so I just knew that I didn't need anyone to validate that for me. Like that was just most alive for me. What are your thoughts on that? And yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Our perspective of it is disconnected, but God's always connected. So
Well,
God doesn't.
that's what I believe the quote is saying, right? It
Totally,
is
totally.
talking about our perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I just want to put that out there. You know, it's like we're the ones that become distant or close in our perception of it all, and it's not a feeling. So I've been dysregulated and still talking with God. You know, um, for me personally, although I can see the perspective of like, yeah, if you're dysregulated, you're furthest from God, because really God wants us to be in love and in peace, which is a regulated nervous system. But we don't want that to be a prerequisite to God's love.
Right. Okay. I thank you for emphasizing that. That last piece is really important for sure. And can you expand on that?
Yeah. So our current experience of love and God is based on our current beliefs. And a lot of our worldly experience of love has been conditional. And God is unconditional love. So it almost demands that we change in a weird way in order to receive that love because of the perception of conditions that we put on things. Even though love loves us as we are, it demands that we change to even receive it, which is such an interesting dance.
How does our relationship with God play into like real authentic courage and confidence? Not the kind that's like egotistical, not the kind that's like mustered up, like trying to fight through something and battle through a cold plunge, or I don't know, like some, like some like the things that we have to put like a lot of effort into, but like the courage and confidence that we already have coded within us. Do you believe that our relationship with God fuels that or allows us to access that? Or what are your thoughts?
From my experience, let me just say this. So I grew up the shy nerd kid in school who got picked on and made fun of outside of my friend group. And then I also worked with Tony Robbins for a while and peak stated my way into confidence. I became a group fitness instructor, shy to group fitness instructor, leading, hundreds of people a week in person, that type of thing, and getting really good at it. So I developed this quote unquote confidence, but I was still tormented inside by the same insecurities and the same fears. I still had a fear of rejection.
Right.
So things changed, but things didn't evolve. And there's a difference between change and spiritual evolution. And I talk about this in the book. So think about it like an XY axis. There's a horizontal change, and then there's vertical evolution. Change is the system of our willpower. So we go from shy to confident. We go from binge eating to counting macros. We go from lazy to getting off your ass and working, whatever the thing is. We change our life, but change doesn't promise a spiritual shift. your life looks different and might be better or healthier, and that's cool. But again, like I'm talking about your fears, your doubts, your insecurities, your identity, your relationship with God. Like, do those things change? Because you can have change and not those things. Those other things are the spiritual evolution. And interestingly enough, the spiritual evolution can really only happen with an encounter with God. It doesn't happen on our own willpower. So that's why deepening our relationship with God is so important, because then those things just fall off. And it's not an act of, oh, I finally surrendered and so my life got better. Like that didn't happen. That didn't happen with me, at least. Uh, every time that my lifelong torment of worry left me was because of my encounter with God, and because
Mm.
I deepened a relationship with God. It had nothing to do with a 3-step process, or I finally surrendered, or I had parts work with it. I've done all that stuff, and that was only temporary. Like, so let's wrap up the story of my near death experience from 5 years ago. I had chronic gut issues from that and back pain, bunch of tie-ins there for 4 years. It's gone now. It's been healed. Hasn't come back in a year plus. Deepening my relationship with God and a prayer. That's it. So I'm a different person because of God and my relationship with God. That has introduced the spiritual evolution to change, so that the identity, the fears, the insecurities are lifted, and it's in a new place. But that didn't happen from my own willpower, and I think that that's hard to reckon with when we're used to doing the work and doing working on ourselves and putting so much willpower into forging our identity. When for me, I had to, in a way, let go of doing that. I'm still
Yeah,
grateful for it, but like, I didn't rely. I didn't get me here, and I think I you have to get to that point. Like,
I think that's so powerful.
yeah.
And um it's humbling, like some people have an issue though
And when I let go,
with the energy of humbleness. But what I'm feeling from you is like this just acceptance. I'm feeling a lot the energy of acceptance through you, around you, within you, and just like giving up like the denial, right?
mm,
The denial. And you said you were atheist at one point, so that's some could argue that that might be a denial of fill in the blank,
yeah,
the universe, God, one consciousness, whatever you want to fill in the blank there, you guys. But so I feel like, yeah, and to me, acceptance and denial are opposite energies. My brain works in opposite energies. Sometimes I have to kind of talk about both to really like embody it. But I love this acceptance within you, and it's really allowing myself to integrate other things in my life, and hopefully the listeners the same. I would love to hear another powerful concept or message in your book. And if you could restate the
yeah.
name of the book, I'm sure we're going to talk about more and more, but and we'll give it a proper shout out at the end if you have a link to it. But yeah, what's the name of the book again, and another powerful message?
It's called Perspectives. It's contemplative poetry on love, life, and God. Um, what am I called to share here? You want me to read from it, or you want me to like share one of the concepts?
Reading from it felt nice in my body, but whatever you want.
I landed on chapter 10, Your Truth. I'm just gonna read, and then we'll talk afterwards. So it's again, it's poetry, so I'm gonna pause, and those it's actually like there's pauses in the page, like so. Here we go. If you want different, play a different game. If you want to be different, unplug from the matrix. Is your truth really yours? Are your thoughts your own, or did someone tell you to think that way? Even the thought of having your own thoughts is dogma from somebody else. What's really your truth? This is how I've learned to control in order to stay safe, says the same one who says, this is my truth. You are a garden, not a machine. Oil, then, is a toxin. It's all perfect, even if it's not your preference. There's more to life than a reflection of yourself. If that's truth, you are still the center point of focus, which will have you drowning in your own self-loathing. If you're only self-aware of what you need to work on and not self-aware of what you're great at, or vice versa, you're not self-aware. If you aren't living your truth, you're not living. Yet, the more you focus on yourself, the more you suffer. Where do you pull your truth from? If you pull from the perspective of others, you'll be caught in a trap of people pleasing. If you pull from your own mind, you'll be caught in the trap of isolation and egocentricness. If you pull from what God says about you, your truth then can't be rocked. The willingness to be wrong is the healthiest way to hold your truth. Your truth will be true to you, even if it's not true. Your mind, through confirmation bias, will seek out all the ways in which you're right. So the story can stay safe and you can be right. Your truth shapes your reality, not reality. We all play our own games, our own way of dancing with life, which are created from our truth. So whatever games you're playing will show you what your truth is. Change your truth, change your game. We would rather be right than in love sometimes. That's how strong self-righteousness is. When you start getting honest, life starts aligning for you. Surrender leads to suffering because a part of us gets to die. And in pain, connection gets an opportunity to connect with us. Nothing is stronger than your truth, yet it carries the least importance when it comes to love and God. And that's chapter 10.
Wow. Wow. I listened to that, you guys, with my eyes closed. And that was an experience. Thank you for that. It felt like medicine, the kind you can't get from a plant. Not that plants aren't powerful. That was really, really special. Thank you for sharing that. Do you have any other context around where that came about, that portion that you just read, or what you might have been going through or thinking during that time?
Yeah, I mean, my intention for the book, 'cause I was thinking about writing a book for 8 years. And then I was finally like, what if it could be fun? Oh, wow, what a concept. And then I actually started writing, and the book came out within 8 months. But for me, I mean, I don't know. This was the past year. Okay. So I was battling the weird stuff in my mind. I got diagnosed with Lyme disease. I don't know. I didn't write the chapters in order, so I don't actually know when I finished this one. I was just present with it every morning for 8 months straight. So 8 months, an hour before I looked at my phone, I'd get up, pray, and then write or be with the book, even if it was just reordering things, rereading through things. Um, and I think my intention there was to show the power of just how strong our beliefs are and your truth is, and also the paradox that it doesn't fucking matter at all. Like, it's so important and it's not, because the rest of the book, so the book's written in 3 sections: self, then love, then God. And that was the end of the self section, right? And so then we go into higher states of consciousness, talking about love. The first quote in the next chapter is, love isn't about you. So it just completely demolishes everything we just talked about, but it continued, onward. So I think wrestling with the question that you asked me in the beginning, who are you? I really, really have done a lot of contemplation on that. And I think that's one of the things in the book that is indirect, because it's a poetry book, but the I want people to contemplate. And I think we've lost the art of contemplation as a society, to wrestle with concepts that may not make sense instead of rushing to put a explanation on them as definite.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that. And what's different about poetry versus just regular reading or other material?
I think it speaks to the heart. You know, my intention on this was with every passage, I was like, how can I say a lot without saying a lot? You know, how can I, and that's the fun part for me. So that was where I was like, ooh, this is fun. Like, how can I really convey what I'm trying to say? And I think more words takes away from that. At least for me, when I read books, I'm reading a few right now, and I'm like, man, okay, quit yapping. Let me like skim through. What are you trying to say here? You know, there's a lot of extra context, so that I think is good. And I might write a book like that one day. But especially with this first book, I really wanted to speak my heart. I wanted to how do I view the world, and how that I think what it does is it don't take what I'm saying. You're going to come to your own conclusions
Yes.
from from contemplating it and seeing the being with the words. You're going to find your own truths. You're going to have your own ahas. It's not Kevin telling you what to think.
Yes, absolutely. And just from my experience, when you were reading that portion a moment ago, I was like completely more in when I say I was in my body. My listeners know I do human design coaching and astrology. When I say that, I'm in the lower, the centers below the throat and below. I'm not in the head and then the ajna. And I felt a lot of stuff happening in my heart chakra. That's why like I close my eyes, I shut the mind down, so to speak, and I feel it. Um, so yeah, we're some of us are probably in our body because it has that heart connection, because it's someone not telling us what to do or what to think. It's more of a painting with words. This is how I'm sensing it. And so because of that, do you find that people are able to maybe receive or surrender or release resistance to concepts through poetry as opposed to other forms of writing?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, that wasn't my intention, but I like writing poetry, and I wanted this to be a self-awareness game for people, or an awareness game for people, right? To
I
read through.
love it.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure it has it does hit a different part, right? When I tell people I'm writing a book, they're like, "Oh, what's it about?" I'm like, "Oh, it's a poetry book," and I always get there's always a lean in, like, "Oh, awesome!" Like,
Yeah,
yes. Um, so I don't know. There's something that
amazing. I'm just curious, are you performing some of these poems already? Do you plan on doing that?
as in like spoken word.
Right, yeah.
I've done one publicly. I've got another one this weekend. Actually, the book comes out at the time of recording this week, so there's going to be a lot more of the things to do with it. But yeah,
Oh, yay. Oh, this is perfect. Yeah, maybe we'll bump you up on the schedule then. All right, so this was so good. Like man, I can't believe time flew by. I want to get some practical advice from you for people who are, kind of on this a similar path from where you were, maybe discovering some health things. We just had an eclipse in Virgo on the 21st of September. So, some of us are dealing with health. That tends to happen when we have something happening in Virgo. But aside from astrology, for people who are just like on just kind of like your journey, not like it doesn't have to be Lyme disease, but like finding out maybe something shocking about health or lifestyle, like something that is requiring you to get closer to God, to get closer to yourself, to stop the hustle bustle or the self abandonment. What are some practical tips if someone is just starting that journey? What are like three things that they could start to do on a weekly or monthly basis?
mm. I think everything in life is an opportunity to get closer with God.
Hmm.
So get closer with God. Um, don't rely on your own strength to overcome it.
Yeah.
Ask for help. Ask people for help. Ask God for help. Um, See what you're doing.
See what you're doing. What does that mean? Self-awareness?
Without saying that, yes.
Okay.
Like, observe yourself.
Observe yourself. Okay.
Observe yourself. Deepen your relationship with God and ask for help. Those are probably
Okay.
the practical things that I would tell somebody to do, especially if they're, I mean, it could be something as little as anxiety and burnout and you're addicted to nicotine. Like,
Yeah.
same thing.
Right. Right. So I'm going to ask one specific question for someone who doesn't know how to. There's a million ways. Well, maybe not. Maybe that's exaggeration. There's probably like 10 ways, 20 ways that you could observe yourself. But like for someone who's like, what?
Yeah.
Where, what, why, and how? So what are some options just so they can see what works for them? It might not work, but then they can go on to the next option. So what are some options for how we can start to observe ourselves?
You can smack it. You can, I'll give you the smack in the face way. Uh, Mirror work, stare at yourself in the
Oh,
face
that's good.
for
Yeah.
10 minutes. Look eye contact with yourself for 10 minutes straight. Number two, go to a graveyard and walk around for an hour without your phone. You're going to die one day. That's real. Number three, ask for feedback from other people. Hey, what can you share 10 or, let's condense it. Can you share 3 great things about me and 3 areas that I need to work on? Multiple people that you trust and that know you, and notice not just what they say and the patterning in what they say, but also notice how it makes you feel.
Beautiful.
That'll show you a lot about yourself. So you can do all of those things. One of those things, it's something's going to wake up in you from that.
Yeah, those are great recommendations. And thank you for giving us something different. I'm so glad meditation is cool, great, and I love meditation. I'm a deep meditator. I meditate for an hour these days when 5 minutes used to be really difficult. But I realize that for that is not the medicine for everyone. For some of us, we can't observe ourselves that way. But Kevin just gave us 3 additional options. And I hear people say, like, every podcast episode says meditate, meditate, meditate. So I can understand someone's frustration if they're like, I'm not doing that right now. Like,
Yeah.
give me something else. And so Kevin just gave you something else. In that mirror work, the first time I did it, man, I was bawling, crying. I had, in the best way possible, I had the biggest emotional release to date at that time. And that was
Wow.
pre medicines.
Wow.
So that was the easiest way for me to connect with myself. And it was hard. I was yelling at myself as well. So am I delusional or was I or was I resilient? We'll never know.
Love it.
Yeah, so good. Oh my gosh. Like I'm having fun in this conversation. I actually don't want to end, even though I probably have to go soon. So I want you guys to really tap into like how you feel about this episode. If you really resonate with everything, the conversation, the book, the poetry, the passage that he read, Kevin, his voice, anything, like listen, really listen to your body, connect with him. I'm going to give you guys his website and his Instagram. And then while I'm doing that, Kevin, if you want to leave us with one offer or a way for people to either work with you or connect with you. I'm not sure if it's just getting the book or something else. And then also either or a book recommendation that's not yours since we're already promoting your book, or a quote, either way. So I'm going to give you guys his website. It's heartguy.com/book. Heartguy.com/book. The link is already here in the description. So you just scroll down and click on it. And then his Instagram is the.heart.guy. And so, what is one way that people can work with you or connect with you? And then a book rec or a quote.
Yeah, I would say get the book. That's the main thing right now. Follow along on Instagram. I've got a lot coming out soon. So I would say just stay plugged in. And then the quote. Ooh, let me see what's coming to me. I want to try. I mean, I have a quote in my book that's not me. There's only one quote that's not me that is coming to my mind. And I think it does encapsulate a lot of what we talked about. It's from Lou Holtz. It's not the load that breaks a man down, it's the way he carries it.
One more time. That was powerful.
It's not the load that breaks someone down, it's the way they carry it. So
So
it's not
good.
what you're holding, it's how you're holding it. Remember that.
Yeah, amazing. Kevin, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for your time, your energy, your wisdom. your talent, all the gifts and medicine that you put into that poetry book. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Namaste. Have a great day.